And he whip on it for Ronaldo. Of course, he has done it again. Absolutely inevitable.
The form of Cristiano Ronaldo has provided United fans with some joy in what's otherwise been a difficult season. He's scored 18 times from an individual XG of 17.4. Only Son Heung-min and Mo Salah have bagged more goals, but they both played 4 more games. And the reverse fixture was actually Ralf Rangnick's first game in charge. Palace found themselves pinned back in their half for much of that contest.
To other news making headlines, a 62-year-old man is now seeking recognition as the former head of state's biological first son. Jacob Ochola claims that he came to learn at the age of 21 that the late President Mwai Kibaki was his father, following a conversation with his mother. From then on, Ochola and Kibaki allegedly remained in constant touch with one another. Ochola, who schooled at the Rift Valley Academy and in the United States and Switzerland as a management trainee with the Hilton Group of Hotels, claimed that his access was suddenly cut off when the late Kibaki became president in 2002. Our reporter Kimani Githuku spoke to him.
Thank you for speaking to KTN, Mr. Jacob. Maybe can you tell us which year were you born?
I wish to begin by sincerely thanking His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief, Mr. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, for the decent burial that he extended to my late father, the late President Emilio Mwai Kibaki. I was born in 1960, July 22nd, in Kaloleni, Nairobi. I grew up knowing I was Luo. I didn't know I was not Luo. When I turned 22, when I turned 21, the person I knew was my father died. A year later, my mom disclosed to me that the person who died was not my father. That was an adopted father. So she told me she was going to talk to my father because my father wants to see me and introduce me to my father.
Tell us the first time you met your father and how was the experience meeting him for the first time?
My adopted father was a member of Current Country Club. The late president was a member of the Current Country Club. I was raised up in Current, and we frequented the club. And he's someone I knew all my life. And so when he came in, we walked straight into the restaurant. And at that point, my mind was disturbed. I wasn't sure if he was the one. I was hoping someone else would come up. My mother broke the news and says, "Okay, Jack, this is your biological father." And my father responded, "Yes, Jack, we don't want to subject you into a lot of injustice. It is important that we let you know the truth. We are your parents, and it is better for you to hear from us rather than getting it from the public domain." And from that day on the 21st of June, 1982, I knew that Emilio Mwai Kibaki was my father.
Maybe how often did you meet your dad, and how are the memories you have, the good memories with your father? Can you share with us some of the sweet memories with him?
Mzee was a person I interacted with, and not only in private, but even in public. I was manager Mombasa Beach, and Mzee used to come. Mzee has a residence right adjacent to Mombasa Beach. During Easter and Christmas, he would come, and I would sit with Mzee for 2 to 3 hours. People didn't know who I was, and people were wondering, who is this sitting, this old man for so long? All the staff in the hotel knew who the person was. He was a vice president. And so they didn't know what the relationship between me and him was. And I didn't disclose to them. I didn't see the need to disclose to them who this was. They could not imagine that that was my father because my names were Ochola. This is Emilio Mwai Kibaki. I was manager at Milimani Hotel between 1986 and 1987. Mzee used to come to Milimani. Then the general manager of Milimani was Schwartz. And Mzee would sit with me for 2 to 3 hours. And so the general manager was grateful that here is someone who spends time, who can bring in the vice president as a customer, and he visits us very frequently. I was manager in Sirikwa Hotel in Eldoret at the time when Mzee was replaced as the VP by the late Dr. Karanja. When Mzee came over to Eldoret, I received him. Under normal circumstances, Daddy had been to Sirikwa Hotel prior to that, and he would occupy the presidential suite, which is on the first floor. That time, I could not get Daddy to the presidential suite. When I told him it was against the protocol and I had received a call from Stephen Kositany, who was the managing director of African Tours and Hotels, I shared that with my father. And Daddy told me, no, Jack, let's go. I took him to my room. I was a resident at Sirikwa Hotel. My room was 315. I am a Christian. I've never consumed alcohol. That particular night, my father consumed 2 bottles of beer. And everyone in the hotel was shocked. They knew that I don't consume alcohol. But I didn't have to explain to anyone who the person was or who consumed the drinks. That morning he left, and that was his first meeting since he was replaced as the vice president. He was now coming as Minister for Finance. On the 20th of December, my late wife was at the private wing at Aga Khan, and my father came to visit with her at 8 o'clock. And we spent a memorable time. Now, everyone was shocked. Here was a lady, a young lady, and here comes the vice president. In 1986, when I was at Mombasa Beach, I was also staying at the hotel. I had a room in the hotel, and my wife had delivered our first son, Hillary. So he was born on the 23rd of November. And so of Christmas, they came over to see me. He was barely 2 months. So they stayed with me in my hotel room. Mzee came and visited with us, and that was the first time he was meeting Wanjiru, and also saw his first grandson. I go to public places and people keep confronting me. Who are you? You resemble the former president, or you resemble the president. And I always brush them off. Yes. If I were a bad character, I would have injured the character of my father. But I recall the first thing that he told me when it was disclosed to me that he was my father, and he himself did it. He told me, respect me as a father always, and never do anything that would injure my character. And he said it 3 times that evening, between 7:30 and 11 o'clock. So, in short, what I'm relaying to you is not something that started today. It is out of respect that I waited for the entire process to end, is when I make this press conference. Yeah. It would not have been right. At the end of the day, he's my father. No matter what he has done or what he has not done, he remains my father, and I respect him. I was not going to rush to court to put a stay or demand a DNA. To me, I would consider that disrespect to someone who actually brought me into the earth. When my late stepmother passed on, I was at Consolata Shrine, and I met Daddy. And he was very grateful that I went there and attended the funeral service. I did reject the offer to go to Othaya because I was traveling to Ethiopia. After then, I met Daddy several times at the Nyari office, number 7. And I had discussions with him. He did assure me that he was going to make sure that I got my share of what I'm entitled to as a person. I trusted my father because I've always trusted him. I've been home 3 times to Othaya, and I met my auntie, the only living auntie that I have now. And she told me she could not help me because she can also not access Daddy. And so she was very welcoming, but her hands were tied. There's no way she was going to help me. I wish to state clearly that I am not a brother to the late president. I am his son, biological son.
Well, that's all we had for you here on Weekend Prime. Thank you very much for being part of the broadcast. I'm Ashley Mazuri. Our sign language interpreter is Marisha Witi. On behalf of our stellar crew and I, have a good night, be blessed, and enjoy the rest of your viewing.